Today is Saturday, September 16th, 2019. My body is growing very weak from the unending assault of electrochemical weapons, from the thuggish youths below my floor that seem to be propped up by the deep state, law enforcement, government agencies. And I had a lot of pain, and I just couldn't block the streams of tasing being shot at me. They were shooting at areas that were really hard for me to reach, and eventually I passed out. And I had a really intense dream. I was still married to my ex-husband, and we were going about on various projects. I was back selling bonsai trees, but he had other side jobs as well, and we were interacting with various entrepreneurs near our house on Hanson Lane, which was a street I've lived on once, but where we were living was a different place. And it was a kind of like 6 or 8 blocks up above the ocean. And so at the end of the day, we all went into sleep, and in the middle of the night, I got up very, very scantily clothed and walked down in the darkness to go swim in the ocean. And I thought I would be all alone there and it would be a private experience, but there were just a lot of people coming and going, and I was very embarrassed at how naked I was. And so I found some of those, they're like those orange and white plastic barriers that they use when they're doing construction work. And I wrapped myself in that and started walking back up the streets to get back to the house. And people kept interacting with me and finding it very humorous what I was wearing, and was asking why. And met a lot of homeless people, a lot of people who seemed that they were on hard times, but I had really sweet interactions with them. And then I started to get lost, and as I kept trying to backtrack to find the street that I lived on, I kept on encountering more and more circuitous passageways and bridges and overpasses and stairways that grew increasingly steep and treacherous, and I kept on asking people how to get to Hanson Lane, and they kept saying, you're so close, just go over that overpass, or walk down this stairway, or walk through this terminal that seemed like an airport, and on the other side you'll find the street. And just when it seemed I was close, I met another snarl of intersections with all these street signs, and none of them were Hanson Lane. And at one point, this woman who seemed homeless, and she had a baby with her, walked with me. And at one point, she just seemed to be ODing on some kind of a drug, and so I held her baby as she passed out. And then she came back to life and was grateful that I looked over them during her weak spell. And I gave her back the baby, and she gave me a poem. And throughout the dream, I would have things like, at one point I had a really nice pair of shoes, and then suddenly I was just walking in socks. And then I had her poem, and then suddenly that was no longer in my hands. And nearing the end of the dream, one of the dogs that was a pet of ours suddenly was with me, and um, so I just kept on, asking where. At one point it looked like I saw a street corner that I recognized, but as I approached it, suddenly there were 6 different, very treacherous roads and very steep, slippery stairways that I had to traverse, and I took the wrong one and was lost again. And then, um, the dog kept getting more and more frantic and nervous, and then finally at the end, it broke away, and the breed is called Keeshond, and I couldn't remember the dog's name, and as I was chasing after it, I just kept saying, "Keezy, Keezy, come back," um, and it just disappeared around a corner, and the grief and the feeling of abandonment and feeling so lost and hopeless just swept over me. I mean, the grief was incredible, and gradually I woke up and I heard one of the ewes that I know to be my defender below the floor just screaming and crying, "You're killing her. She's going to die. You've got to stop this. Please stop." And I mean, I had never heard that level of hysteria before, and I was extremely weak. It took me a long time to come back fully to consciousness, a long time, and I didn't know where I was, and I was like, am I at Hanson Lane? Where am I? And then finally it became more and more clear, and I was back here in remembering where my apartment was and what state I was in, and all that. And it sounded like they dragged that boy away, and I heard distant yelling, and I felt paralyzed for a while, and I just couldn't move. And then eventually I could move very weakly, and the assault started happening again, and I just said, I'm dying. I feel like I'm dying. And even though they could hear that, and I could hear them repeat what I said, and someone's still there, begging the main assaulter to stop, he would still hit me. And so I was very weak for a lot of hours, just unable to defend myself, and eventually he backed off. And so it's 3:20 now, 3:20 p.m. And and I'm just sitting here wondering, was that a near-death experience? And was the dog kind of a symbol of, he was from the spirit world, and kind of just indicating it was Hanson Lane death, and it just wasn't my time yet to get there. Bye for now.